Hey everybody, and welcome to Don't Copy That Floppy. I'm Lex.
I'm Dan.
And we are your weekly video game news podcast.
On chipit.net. Chipit Radio. Tune in.
Yeah, you can listen. You can go to chipit.net, listen on their website, on their on-site player, or you can download a playlist file, listen in iTunes. That's what I like to do. You can also check out our archive of episodes.
Yes. You can listen if you love what you're hearing already.
And how could you not?
But you don't wanna get into this without knowing what you're getting into first. You're like, these guys sound great, but I'm a little afraid to just jump right in the deep end.
Yeah, because some people are not good with commitment, and I understand that.
Yeah, but you can go back and you can take your time. You can leisurely go through our archive of episodes until you're caught up.
Yeah,
and then start listening to us every week.
And you can find those on the Chipit site. If you go to the main page, there's a link right on there.
Yeah. We also have a Facebook page, which is just Don't Copy That Floppy. Go ahead and like that if you like it.
Yeah. We have a Twitter, which is at DCTF Podcast. And we have an iTunes, which is Don't Copy That Floppy. There's an archive up on there as well. You can subscribe to it, and then when the new episodes get uploaded, you can listen to those right away. Yeah. And we also just started a Steam group.
Yes. So we became Steam curators.
Yeah, so you can go on to Steam and I think you can just search for either curators or groups, Don't Copy That Floppy, and it should come right up. I think alternately it's also DCTF Podcast.
Yeah. It is. I noticed that when I logged in to check stuff out. You've already put up a bunch of game recommendations on our curator page.
Yes.
I have put up one just to test if I could do it. I will be putting up many more shortly. The only one up there for me right now is Thief Gold. Go buy it!
Oh, we gotta get Shovel Knight up there.
We do have to get Shovel Knight up there. Hot diggity. Think about it.
Think about
it. So, yeah. So this week we're going to talk a little bit about Battlefield Hardline.
Ooh.
A very funny little story.
Get excited.
Going to talk about Microsoft breaking into the Chinese console market.
Oh, yes, in an update to a show we did from our third episode.
We're going to talk... Oh, so exciting. Go back to the archive. Listen. Something about Angry Birds. I know you're all very excited about that. A little thing about a Kickstarter game that looks really cool that you should all check out, which we're going to use to lead into a big discussion just about Kickstarter. We've been talking about Kickstarter games a lot in the past couple episodes, so we kind of wanted to do a larger piece on it. So the second half of the show will probably be all about Kickstarter games. And then we're going to wrap up with a quick review by me, a little game review, or in this case, a little game DLC review.
Yep.
And then just talk about some games that are coming out in the next couple weeks that you can look forward to. And maybe some stuff that came out this past week as well that's worth mentioning. So yeah. So the first article we have here, talking about Battlefield Hardline. This is an article on Joystick from 5 days ago, so let's see. So this past Monday, September 29th, I believe. This article it comes from an assurance from Visceral Games about the upcoming title Battlefield Hardline. And that assurance is that, and I know everyone was really worried, this game will work when it comes out.
What used to be the standard
is now like a premium promise from a developer that, don't worry guys, the $60 game you buy will actually function when we release it.
You know what would be really funny though? If in the future they start doing pre-order bonuses and one of those bonuses is will work on launch.
Would you like to put down $5 to guarantee that your game functions when you get it?
They're very limited. No, I can actually see that if they go like there are very limited servers.
Ooh, yeah,
dude.
Premium. It's like you're buying a premium server space ticket.
Dude, that's gonna happen.
This is actually frighteningly possible.
Oh no! I just predicted the future. I didn't even mean it.
Oh my god,
DeLorean.
We're calling it. Mark down this episode of Don't Copy That Floppy.
October 4th.
October 4th, 2014. If you hear that, if you hear about this in the future, just remember we said it first.
We warned you.
I think we should probably get some kind of royalties for giving a company the ideas too. We should totally like raise some legal trouble. So yeah, this actually comes on the heels. This news about Battlefield Hardline comes on the heels of DICE's Battlefield 4, which suffered, like, literally months of connectivity and function issues after it came out. Like, that game was a mess. That game was such a mess that people were returning it in droves and just going back to playing Battlefield 3 after it came out. Like, that's how you know you messed up. Like, it's like, sure, the game is better, but nobody could play it. So everyone just played the good Battlefield 3 instead. So it led to multiple law firms. That whole thing led to a huge fiasco. Multiple law firms alleged that publisher EA issued materially false and misleading statements regarding its playability. The CEO of EA, Andrew Wilson, actually publicly deemed the game's launch as unacceptable. So they had all sorts of problems. They admitted that it had all sorts of problems. The fix took way, way, way longer than it should have. So obviously questions about the next game being stable came up. But Visceral has assured us that it will work, and has said that they started working on it more than a year before Battlefield 4 even came out, so it has been in development for quite some time. I guess part of the reason I wanted to talk about this article, aside from the headline just being really funny, is, like, the fact that that is now, like, a talking point for a AAA release like this. And I know it's a AAA release that hinges very heavily on online play, and that maintaining servers during those few launch days is difficult nowadays, with just the sheer number of people who are playing. It was always difficult for MMOs, and now it's becoming difficult for console releases as well. Because the number of people playing games is just growing. I am still kind of flabbergasted that it's been such a problem for so long now, because I feel like at a point you kind of have to know, like, our game is going to be ridiculously packed on launch, so we need to prepare for this.
Yeah, because they're AAA...
I feel like there keeps not being a contingency for all of these server crashes and problems at launch.
Definitely, yeah.
It feels like, and I don't know that for a fact, but from what I've seen, very little is done to prepare for that. Beyond being like, oh, the server is up. But then it crashes. When everyone gets home to play the game. And I mean, this has always been a problem with MMOs, and with MMOs I almost feel like it's somewhat more acceptable because of the sheer volume of things going on with MMO releases. Like, I played World of Warcraft for several years, and I remember the mess that was the Burning Crusade launch. That wasn't a fun day. Like, I barely could play it the first day because it was just, even if I managed to log in, like, the servers were so overloaded that the areas were not rendering in when I was playing. The Frozen Wrath of the Lich King was not as bad, but still had a lot of issues at launch. And Cataclysm, I feel like, went more smoothly than the other two. But Cataclysm was the last time I played. So I can't speak for the other expansions that came out after that.
You weren't into Mist of Pandaria?
I was not into Mist of Pandaria. I played Cataclysm for a week. And then just decided that I was completely and utterly disenchanted with World of Warcraft.
But then it had a big dragon in it.
It did have a big dragon in it.
Why are you excited?
His name was Deathwing.
Oh.
He was supposed to be super dead.
Man, that's a horrible name.
It's not a good name.
It's not creative at all.
But it's from, like, the early days of Warcraft, so I can almost forgive it, because they kind of had that, like, very, very basic fantasy thing. You know, it's like, oh, here's our big Dragon King. What do you name him? Deathwing. Yeah. It's like when you read an old, like, fantasy novel from, like, the 70s. It's like, they were doing their best.
It's cool.
I mean, nowadays, though, you look at a name like Deathwing and you're like, really? Come on. Like, seriously?
Is this fan fiction?
Like, for real? Well, the Warcraft storyline is basically fan fiction at this point.
Yeah.
So anyway, we've strayed a bit from the topic. The fact of the matter is, Blizzard has been improving on their handling of releases like this.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I have not seen other developers handling this stuff very well.
Yeah, it super bothers me because...
And Blizzard didn't at first, but they've definitely been learning from it and prepping for the server loads on these launches. And they're still not perfect. I don't think there's any way to make them perfect, but it's entirely possible to make the game functional on release day.
Yeah.
Which is all we're asking for here.
It's like, it wouldn't bother me at all if they weren't AAA titles with like giant budgets and huge companies.
And that's the other thing.
Them.
After Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4's success, and the fact that EA is just behind us and they're a juggernaut right now,
like
it's just crazy.
Yeah, because they can literally just throw money at this problem and make it go away, because they can just get more servers.
Yeah, but they don't. I mean, they're thinking of the bottom line, obviously.
Yeah.
Not the hard line.
Oh,
it's cops and robbers.
Can I also point out that I hope Hardline doesn't work, because that game looks like garbage.
Go
back and watch our E3 Part 1 coverage. And
where we talk about how much we think Hardline is stupid.
All the zip
or
lines.
like Battlefield zipline.
Yeah.
No, my problem with Hardline is that I think it looks really dumb conceptually. Like, not even from a gameplay standpoint. I just think the concept is like, oh no. It's a bit cringy. Anyway, so, this seems like a big issue to me. I don't think it will get addressed anytime soon, that this is getting more and more the norm to have your game not function right on launch day. I mean, day one patches have been a thing in games forever now.
Yeah.
For, like, AAA titles and stuff. And it's just, it's clear that it's becoming more and more acceptable to ship your game somewhat unfinished. You know? And I don't like it, but what do we do about it?
Well, it's just that annoying thing of like, well, we can't compromise our deadline. And I'm like,
yeah,
set a later deadline.
Set a later deadline. Like, we talked about last week, actually, how we respected Blizzard for canceling Titan because they didn't think it was going to be good. Blizzard also doesn't really have a problem delaying things if they don't think they're done. So, I mean, good for them. Like, they clearly care about putting out the product when it's finished and good. But I guess we don't have to worry about Battlefield Hardline. It'll work. In the event that Battlefield Hardline does not work, look forward to our very, very sassy comeback when the game releases.
Such sass.
Sometime in 2015. Because I'm willing to bet money that game ain't gonna work on launch day.
No, it won't.
So anyway, moving on. Let's talk about China's first video game console for Microsoft.
Oh, China!
Why don't you take this one?
Okay, so in an article that was published in the Washington Post on October 3rd, we learn that the Xbox One is finally launching in China, the country that's
after a 14-year ban on home consoles.
So we first heard that Microsoft was going to launch a console in China, and also that Nintendo is going to.
But Nintendo's designing a console for the Chinese market.
Specifically for the market. And this was news at like the beginning of the spring, right when our show started. So you can go back, you can watch episode 3.
We'll talk about those.
And we have an in-depth article about it.
Yes.
So this is sort of an update on that. We knew Microsoft was coming in there. They are now. They are launching the Xbox One in 37 Chinese cities and 4,000 retail stores.
Yes.
This is a big deal because it's especially a big deal for Microsoft and for Nintendo because they're the consoles in this generation's console war that aren't doing as well.
Yeah.
So they really need another market to boost sales so that they can like not be operating at a loss. So Microsoft is probably really hoping they can corner this market, but as we talk about in our original piece and as this article talks about a little bit, is that it's going to be really tough for them because... Let's see. Oh, okay, here we go.
Well, Chinese consumers have a lot of other options, for one thing, within their own country.
Quoting the article, Microsoft will have to not just win over a new generation of gamers, but navigate unpredictable Chinese regulators, outwit its installed rivals, and prove to buyers that China's cheap, accessible gray market is less appetizing than the real thing. So, as we talked about before, one of the big things that China got really into during this 14-year span are cheaper games, a lot of like mobile games, kind of in the same way the US has recently.
Yep.
But also just like cheap, like easy internet, like MMO type fun
MMOs and
games.
online shooters, Counter-Strike-esque stuff. So lots of PC gaming, and not necessarily very high-powered, high-end PC gaming either.
Yeah.
But that means the gaming market over there though is used to that and doesn't really feel like they need this super crazy graphics and everything.
So now we're going to see in the coming months if that market was just like thirsting for the kind of AAA experience that only Battlefield could offer. Or if they're like, nah, we're not really into that and we're not going to buy into it.
Yeah.
And that's why we think Nintendo is going to do really well here, because since they're designing a console specifically for the market, it'll be a cheaper console with cheaper games.
Yeah.
So it'll hit that demographic that has sort of become established in the last 14 years.
Some of my favorite things about this are the so-called accessible gray market of cheap accessible gray market of Chinese products, including real winner knockoff consoles known as the Mini Polystation 2004 and the Chitendo V.
Oh my gosh.
I wonder what games you can play on the Chitendo V. The Not So Wonderful 84. That's my favorite. So yeah, but the point is that in China they're used to playing games on... it also mentions that they're used to playing on pirated consoles. So like pirated hacked consoles are probably decently big over there. Excuse me. For people who can get at them. And then those knockoffs are super cheap and play weird little games. So why not, right?
Yeah.
Most of those consoles end up costing like $80. And I've never played a game on them. I don't imagine that they're particularly good. But if it's what's available, why not?
If it even works like reasonably well, like if it worked as well as like cartridge consoles did when they first came out, you know?
And I think that's basically what they are.
I would be fine with that for $80.
Yeah.
Dude.
Get your Chitendo V.
Chitendo V. So good.
Or the Mini Polystation 2004.
Now I really want to get one of those.
You can get them from Brazil, actually. The Brazilian market has a lot of consoles like this as well.
Dan, can we please get one of those consoles?
Maybe we will.
Then we'll do some Let's Plays.
Don't forget the Zeebo. That's a Brazilian one. The Zeebo. Or the Batman. Yes, it's covered in art from Batman and Robin, the Joel Schumacher movie. But I guess it's a console? It looks like an original Xbox with a light gun and Mr. Freeze on the box. So, okay. So yeah.
But the reason why people are competing over this market...
Yes.
Again, you can go back to our original story and we go in depth about that, but it's... so many people live in China, and there's so much potential revenue. I think this article talks about China had 490 million video game players at the start of the year.
I'm sorry, I need to mention something from this article after you finish.
Okay. And it can generate like more than 25 billion a year in revenue, which is nuts.
So no wonder companies want this.
Yeah.
And are willing to take all the risks and try to like wheedle their way in there over time. Like, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, even if you only get a portion of that, like, you're sitting pretty. They've mentioned that some of the Xbox One's biggest expected hits, including Destiny and Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, I'm sorry, that's the Tom Clancy game, that's exactly the same, will be blocked by the Chinese government's censorship restrictions, which is an issue because, you know, they'll have to do a lot of work in the game to either make them adhere to those censorship laws or just not sell them over there, which doesn't seem like a good idea. China's long blocked games with political themes and realistic violence, leading to some strange substitutions, such as video game blood that looks black or purple instead of red, and skeletons being replaced by tombstones or bags of sand.
Bags of sand.
Can you imagine playing a game and shooting a guy and he just turns into a sandbag? Terrific. I mean, Australia and Germany have some similar weird video game censorship laws. Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate is going to be rated mature in Australia, even though it's a silly fantasy game about stabbing dragons, with very minimal blood. And
yeah, there is very little blood in that.
The blood is not very graphic.
And
in
none of the
Monster Hunter
animals
at all.
are real animals.
No.
Although Australia has some really weird animals, so
maybe they have some dragons around.
Yeah, maybe
they don't want to encourage.
Maybe some of the monsters in Monster Hunter are just real aliens in Australia. Real animals in Australia.
They could be real aliens in Australia.
That's probably true.
In Germany, I know Team Fortress 2 was heavily censored. All the characters in Team Fortress 2 in Germany are robots. So when you are shot or killed in that game, you bleed gears and bolts. And when you explode, if you get blown up by like a rocket, you explode into like mechanical parts and springs and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's an interesting way to do that, actually. Yeah.
That's much better than a lot of the censorship I've heard about, but it's very weird.
Better than Bag of Sand.
It's much better than Bags of Sand. What do the advanced warfighters feel like? Bags of sand? Can you imagine Peter Dinklage and the little Destiny robot? The darkness is bags of sand. A tide of sandbags was unleashed across the world when the darkness came. Still as bored as ever.
Oh, no.
At least if they had censored Destiny like that, Peter Dinklage would have more reason to be bored.
It would also be a lot better.
It would be really funny.
It would be really, really funny.
I wonder if China has any stances against moon warlocks.
Probably do.
Probably do. They don't want any of that.
No.
Political fames.
That's witchcraft.
That's witchcraft. So yeah, it seems like they're right that seems like a very difficult market to get into. Because even if they want to sell their big-name titles, there's going to be a lot of editing done of those big-name titles to make them adhere to the regulations over there. So it'll be interesting to see how they end up handling it.
Yeah, and that's again why we think Nintendo's going to do really well, because all their properties are
super
so
family-friendly.
Yeah, so it's not like they have any censoring to do anyway.
Yeah, and none of their games have a political agenda, except for Tomodachi Life.
Oh, yeah.
Pushing its heterosexual agenda on us all. How dare they?
Oh.
Maybe in Shadows of Mordor they'll replace all the backstab animations with giving the orc a flower and kissing them.
Oh, that would be great.
If you want to know more about what I'm talking about, go on Polygon and search for Shadows of Mordor kissing and killing. You'll see. Somebody raised a ridiculous hubbub about the tutorial of that video game.
I really like the idea of sneaking up on an orc and giving him a flower and then him turning into a bag of sand.
This is the future of video gaming. Don't forget the kissing part. Well, the orcs in that game have such lovingly animated lips. It would be perfect, honestly. Shadows of Mordor looks cool. It looks really good. But yeah, that Polygon article made me very sad because it read like a Kotaku article, and I was like, "Oh no, Polygon, don't!
Polygon, no, please,
please! You're the only place we can go for news anymore." So anyway, Chinese consoles might be cool.
Yeah. Hey, did you just tune in? Are you confused?
Is that why we're talking about kissing orcs?
More that this isn't video game music.
That too.
You're listening to Don't Copy That Floppy, a weekly video game news and review show on chipit.net.
Yes.
Yeah. We have a show archive. You can go to, if you're on chipit.net, which you probably already are if you're listening, on the front page there's a link to our show page. Yeah. You can go on that, you can do our whole archive.
If you're curious what we're all about, we'll give you a good taste of it.
Yeah, we also have an iTunes that also has a show archive. You can subscribe to that, and then you can get the show every week and listen to it when you're on the go or something. I don't know how you listen to your iTunes.
We got Facebook, Don't Copy That Floppy. We got Twitter, at DCTF Podcast. And we even have a Steam group where we are curators, and you can see our game recommendations, which is mostly just going to be me trashing the new Thief game.
Almost exclusively.
Almost exclusively. No, we got a lot of good stuff on there that we recommend for people. So
yeah, the curator thing on Steam I think is really interesting.
It's really cool.
So I'm glad that we've jumped on board with that. So yeah, you can follow us. It's great.
Yes, lots of ways to follow us. So we are talking about Angry Birds next.
Angry Birds.
My favorite subject.
So Rovio. Oh, this is an article. I'm sorry. This is an article from Slate magazine from October 2nd.
Yes.
And Rovio, I believe they're Swedish company. Finnish. I'm sorry.
How dare you?
I know.
At least you didn't call them Norwegian.
That would have been a horrible insult.
I know how those Scandinavians hate each other.
Where's Mojang?
I believe he's Finland as well.
Okay. All right. Finns.
Those Finns.
They
love their gaming.
So anyway, the Rovio, the Finnish gaming company, is downsizing. They just released a little public statement about how they are laying off up to 130 people.
16%.
Yeah,
of their workforce.
At first I was like, 130 people, whatever, and then I was like, 16%. That's actually a significant number.
That's almost a fifth of their whole workforce right there. So what's the reasoning behind this? Is that their growth isn't as big as expected?
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that means monetarily speaking?
Yeah.
So are they're laying people off so that their profit margin is bigger, basically? Classic.
I think that it was because... So that I hate Angry Birds. Let's just put this out there.
I am on board with that.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to say it, but now that the ice has been broken.
And it's not because I dislike the game. I actually liked the game a lot, but it's one of those games where you'll play it for 5 minutes and be like, this is fun, and then you'll move on to something else.
It's also a sort of game that was on those, online arcade websites forever already.
Yeah.
Kind of like Flappy Bird.
Yeah.
That game existed in numerous forms already.
It's just that it was big.
This is how
the
it
mobile platform thing. Yeah. So, and that's fine. I didn't have any problem with it. But I did have a problem when I started seeing plushies everywhere.
T-shirts.
Comic books.
And an upcoming movie. It's too much. It's just way too much.
I really, they got me from being like, that's kind of neat, to being like, I hate this, I don't want to see any more of it.
And I don't get it. Who cares?
They market, I know they market the comic books and a lot of the other stuff to little kids.
Yeah.
And, that makes sense. But... Again, it's just a mobile game.
It's this weird phenomenon. I don't understand it either. So the change here too is that the mobile gaming industry has undergone a shift, whereas people bought Angry Birds for $1 before, and now things are coming out a lot more that are doing microtransactions within the game, like a free app that uses microtransactions to make all its money, like Candy Crush, or the abysmal, horrifying abomination that is the Kim Kardashian video game.
So much money that game made.
It's insane! So I think that Rovio is looking at that and saying, well, we need to step up, because they're making money hand over fist, and, we want that. The CEO... said that he plans on simplifying their organization around their 3 key businesses with the highest growth potential: games, media, and consumer products. So whoever's being laid off, it will most likely be is most likely in sectors that don't deal with that stuff as much.
Well, that's the weird thing, though, because consumer products and media is just the stuff we talked about. So the media, the movie, and consumer products are the plushies and stuff.
Yeah.
So... what were those other people doing?
Who knows?
Maybe they were making a Angry Birds breakfast cereal. That might have been a thing, or candy bars.
Angry Birds candy bars.
I'm sure that was probably a thing somewhere.
I'm not gonna doubt it. So, But
yeah, I'm just happy that.
This is also, I think they are a bit worried about the fact that these games kind of go viral and then burn out.
Yeah.
Tetris, Farmville, Angry Birds, and Candy Crush have all kind of petered out from how big they were initially, and I don't think are going to make any kind of resurgence. So they may be doing this to cut down on their personnel costs, so they have more money to put into developing a new game that will hopefully keep them going.
Well, that's what I'll give to the company that makes all the stupid, Candy Crush and, Farmville
Zynga?
Saga and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because...
I hate Zynga so much.
Because that company at least gets that they need to pump out new games consistently.
And the thing
Even
with
if
them
they're
is,
the same game,
I was about to
basically,
say,
they're just different enough that
they
they'll get people.
reskin a game and retheme a game that is the gameplay's mostly the same, but it's the theme and idea and concept of the game is what they change, which is smart. They make a new game, quotes, with the minimal amount of effort. And people just hop onto it, who have played their other games already.
And then they get bored with it in a few months, but then by then another game is out.
Because it doesn't take them... There's no dev cycle for these things.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous.
And that's what Rovio needs to do, is jump onto that kind of model, because that's kind of how, like...
I feel bad saying that's what they need to do, though, because I don't want another evil mobile app developer. But at the same time, like, from their standpoint in business, yes, that is what they need to do. But at the same time, I'm like, Rovio should just not do anything and dissolve.
They should be out of a job.
They should be out of a job.
Instead of making games that I don't like.
Yeah. That's what I feel.
But no, that's just the sad thing about the mobile market. That's kind of how it works.
Yeah.
Microtransactions.
Well, I mean, even the console market's got a lot of microtransactions going on nowadays. I'm going to talk about DLC at the end of this show. That's microtransactions.
It is.
Some of it is worth it, some of it isn't. Yeah, that's the thing.
Yep.
You gotta see how much you actually get out of it for how much you're paying.
But yeah, I'm just so happy about this because because if this means that I'll be seeing less random Angry Birds merchandise garbage everywhere, I'm totally for it. This is only a win for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. What do we got up next? We're about halfway through the show, so let's get into all our Kickstarter talk now. You wanted to bring up a specific Kickstarter game first.
Yes.
That you found that looks really cool.
Okay, so in an article from Rock Paper Shotgun from October 2nd, although there were like a ton of different articles announcing this on October 2nd. I'm glad there were because it deserves the press. There is a new Kickstarter for a game called Human Resources. Now I know what you're thinking. It's going to be some really boring desk office job sim. But no, it's not. That title is a pun. Get with it. So this is
puns are the future.
The future of gaming. Puns. I mean Shovel Knight, if it taught us anything.
Oh yeah, totally.
So this game is from Uber Entertainment, and they're the guys who made Planetary Annihilation.
Which I know you're a big fan of.
Dude, that game's sweet. And the way they got that game made is they kickstarted it.
Yep.
It was super successful, and then they got the game on Steam Early Access and released it, and everybody loved it. I think
yes, indeed, do.
And that was great. So now they're like, well, we want to make another big old game, and we're going back to Kickstarter for it. So the game Human Resources is about the end of the world. It's an RTS game, and you as the player want to bring about the end of the world. And you play as one of two apocalypse factions. So one of the apocalypse factions is giant robots, like AI has become like sentient and they want to wipe out the humans.
Skynet sort of situation.
Yeah. And then the other one is like the Cthulhu type elder gods, like squid monsters.
Lovecraftian sea monsters, basically.
And they're just duking it out. And, oh man, this game looks amazing. Check out their Kickstarter. Donate to their Kickstarter. One of their first not goals, but...
stretch goals?
No, benefits for if you donate.
Oh, yeah.
Is if you... So the regular one is like $1 or above, and you just like get their undying gratitude, whatever. But if you donate $20, you get the game when it comes out. And considering how good their games are... Like, yeah, you'll have to wait a while, but you just bought that game for $20, assuming that it happens. And if it doesn't happen, you get your money back anyway.
Yeah.
So...
Whatever.
I mean, I know with some Kickstarters you don't get your money back. Oh, yes.
Oh, no. Not them.
But with Uber...
Don't speak their name in this context. It'll curse this game.
That's true.
The Kickstarter we dare not speak of.
But with Uber, like, I'm totally confident that if they weren't able to get the Kickstarter funded, they would return that money.
Yeah. I mean, they're very much hoping that Planetary Annihilation's reception will get them some cred for getting this game made.
Now, there are some problems with this, before I talk about some of the cool points about it, I'm going to talk about some of the problems that I see with it already.
Okay.
Do you have the Kickstarter open for it already?
I do not. I can pull it up though. Yeah.
So they're only a couple days into it. I think they have like 30 days left on it, right? And the total goal is $1,400,000.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
They're at 180K right now.
Yeah, which for like
for a couple
day
days,
and a half, 2 days,
that's
is great.
Really good, but that usually peters out.
Yeah.
A bit.
Like after their first week, if they haven't made like a significant portion,
right?
If they haven't made like, I want to say like $700,000 or $800,000 after the first week, they're probably not going to make it. And that worries me because I don't think that they can, because that's just so much money to ask of people.
It's a really big asking price for this game. It's like, it's a little ridiculous how much it is. And I mean, given how much it is, they have a lot of fairly high donation tiers also. Like, you've got, like, $1 or more, $20 or more, and $40 or more.
The fact that it makes that jump worries me a little bit.
Which are, like, the pretty reasonable ones, but then you hit 90, which is kind of getting up there.
Yeah.
115, 125. Then you go to 250, 500, 1,000, 5,000, and 10,000.
I always wish there's, like, what I always
and
want to
nobody's
donate,
really gone for any of the big ones yet.
Yeah.
Either.
What I always want to donate to a Kickstarter is like $5, so it really bugs me when there isn't a reward for $5.
Yeah, because 1 seems like so little.
Yeah.
Like, 20 is definitely the most reasonable, and you get the game.
And then it jumps to 40, and 40 I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I'd still like to donate it.
40 is still reasonable to me, but then the jump to 90 from there is where I'm kind of like,
eh. So that's the big worry that I have with this game.
Right.
On the other hand, you watch the video, you get to see a lot of gameplay. Man, this game, it looks gorgeous.
Graphically, it looks fantastic. I love the art design and everything of it is super nice.
This really cool sort of cel-shaded style.
Yeah, it's great, and the perspective on like the cities and everything is really cool.
The entire
destructible environments.
Yeah,
and
all the environments are destructible, and you can see one of my favorite parts in the trailer is there's like a giant robot and then a giant tentacle monster like walking towards each other, and there's a skyscraper in between them. So the player selects the skyscraper, and who's playing the tentacle monster thing selects the skyscraper and then selects the giant robot. Yeah. And you just see the big tentacle monster pick up the skyscraper, like tear it up, and then hit the robot with it. Yeah, so you got environmental attacks and everything. It's great. It sounds like so much fun. The other thing that kind of gives me pause here is that they want $1.4 million to fund this. Mm-hmm. And they still have stretch goals. And I'm kind of like, even if this gets funded, what are the chances they will actually reach these stretch goals? And the stretch goal number 1, 2, and 3 are unknown at present. They have not said what they are. Stretch goal 4 is a new faction for the game. So it's kind of sad, too, that it seems like it will be limited to just these 2 factions. Unless we meet the 4th stretch goal. Now, and it seems rough even getting to the 1st stretch goal at this point. Now, what's interesting about this is when they made Planetary Annihilation, their total goal was only 900,000. Okay. But they ended up making 2,200,000. So they have made a lot of money in the past. Yeah. We're going to get to a little later why it might not be reasonable for them to assume they can make that amount of money again. Yeah. But so like their logic makes sense. I'm just still really worried about it because I feel like when Planetary Annihilation got like super funded like that, it was one of those things where like when a Kickstarter gets super funded like that, it's kind of like the 1 in a million kind of shot. Right. Right. And I don't think that you can expect to recreate that necessarily, even if you have made a name for yourself with your initial release. Right. I mean, you have to worry also, there's probably some people who were not like completely enamored with the final product of Planetary Annihilation. So you perhaps have some backers who would otherwise have been willing to give a lot of money to this who decide, well, I don't really like how this game came out.
so they're not going to want to support you. On the other hand, you'll have people who maybe didn't even fund the Kickstarter, but pick up the game and really like it, and decide to fund this. So there's a lot kind of up in the air about it. But yeah, we wanted to use this, talking about this Kickstarter in particular, to kind of lead into a bigger talk about Kickstarter games, since we've been discussing them a lot. Lex, you found, excuse me, a Wikipedia page of crowdfunded video games.
Yeah, just a list of all of the ones and like which ones met their goals,
which ones did not, and like ones that are currently ongoing.
Yeah.
And according to this, the majority of them seem to meet their goals.
One of the things I think is
list.
probably a caveat to say with this list is I believe that there are probably a lot of Kickstarter games that were tried for like with smaller goals and also didn't make those because they were like literally like a guy in his basement trying to make a game.
Yes.
And those probably didn't make it onto this list.
I think there's some things that I've seen that are not on this list as well. Some like overly ambitious projects being clearly made by like 4 people that were asking for lots of money, and people were just kind of steered away. Things that did not have very convincing pitch videos. Stuff like that. Because there's definitely more games on Kickstarter than are listed on this site.
But overall, I mean, one of the things the points that I think that you've been making and I've been sort of making lately when we've been talking about Kickstarter stuff, is that because we always see these articles about Kickstarter games that were like successfully funded but then were never released, and we're starting to think like, oh, they're all failures. Even when they don't fail monetarily, they still fail. But looking at this list, I feel like there's a really good percentage of these games that did really well.
They did.
Like, you can look at Faster Than Light is on here.
Yep.
Banner Saga is on here. Earlier we mentioned Planetary Annihilation.
Yeah, Hyper Light Drifter, which isn't out yet, but that met its goal. And a lot more.
Yeah.
$27,000 goal got $645,000.
And as far as we know, that's on its route.
That's on track
out.
to being finished. They're consistently updating about it and everything.
Double Fine Adventure, Guns of Icarus Online. I've never played that, but I've like heard really good things about it.
Yeah, me too.
Various people. What were some of the other ones? I had some here. Lifeless Planet.
Yep.
We were talking about that one time.
Yep.
Octodad 2, which came out as Octodad Dadliest Catch, and we all know how well that worked out.
Yep.
That was awesome.
I mean, Shovel Knight is an obvious one to mention as well. The remake of Shantae, Half Genie Hero, is on there as well.
One of the earlier ones from 2011, Cthulhu Saves the World. I didn't know that was a Kickstarter.
I didn't know that either, actually. There's Hex as well, which is like a card game.
Oh, yeah.
A fantasy card game, which met its goal by a long shot. Made over $2 million.
Shadowrun Returns.
Yeah.
Shadowrun Returns came out. It was great.
So, like, there has been... We've been very... Risk of Rain was another one. I didn't realize Risk of Rain was a Kickstarter either. There's a lot. The basic gist of this is that there's a lot.
There's a lot. And
a lot of Kickstarter games have been funded, have come out, and have been very good. So more so, we've been talking about a lot of failures lately. Failures do not seem to be the norm.
Yeah.
Though, which is really nice to look at. It gives me a little more hope in light of the recent screw-ups.
I still think it's really funny I saw on this list the Ouya.
Oh, yeah!
The Ouya's original goal of $950,000, which is a lot of money, and it made $8,500,000.
Yeah.
Nearly $8,600,000, and they still couldn't make it work.
Nope, it didn't work. We'll never see the Ouya.
Oh, no. That was very poor.
I didn't make that up. I just always thought it was very funny. The Ouya.
And the Oculus Rift was part of that as well.
Yeah.
Those started.
Charles Barkley Shut Up and Jam Gaiden 2 got funded. Got like 4 times its asking funding, and that's still on track.
supposedly, that's actually one of the ones that we're more iffy about because they just haven't released news on that for
That
a
is
really
true.
long time.
I would hope it's still coming out, though.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Because they released the first one. So
Yeah.
they're a studio that can release games.
A game.
Yeah.
And the first one's a masterpiece.
It is. Go play it. Shut up and jam Gaiden.
Oh, so good.
That was great.
Peter Molyneux's game Goddess came out.
That's true. That was
A
Kickstarted.
little iOS game. You can plant a tree and watch it grow in that game.
No, that wasn't the one that you could do.
No, it wasn't. You get closer to that than you did in Fable and Goddess. So yeah, the other thing we want to talk about related to Kickstarter is another article you found on technobuffalo.com.
Which is a funny name for a website.
It is. This is from October 3rd. This article titled Kickstarter Video Games and Funding Predicted to Shrink 50% in 2014.
Now, this is a really short article, so it doesn't actually, it gives some numbers and then it doesn't actually go into super depth with them. But there's apparently this firm called ICO Partners that was hired.
When are they going to release Last Guardian?
Oh no! It's
sorry,
them!
I had to.
It's the same people.
It's the same guys.
No, but
Who else could it be?
They were hired to do an analysis of the Kickstarter funding stuff.
Yes.
And apparently last year...
And this is analysis specifically on the gaming
Yes,
Kickstarters.
specifically on the gaming ones.
Yeah.
From last year, they hit... let's see. There were significantly less games that were tried to be kickstarted last year. It was 175 video games were successfully funded last year, whereas
That's a good number.
Yeah,
that's really nice.
Yeah, that is nice to stand back and look at.
It's a really a solid number for successful funded games for a year. That's
Oh
good.
no, I'm sorry, I misread.
Oh, what?
So far. So far this year, that's how many have been funded.
That's even better, then.
That's even better.
Yeah. I was thinking, oh, I'm sorry, I misread that. It was actually 23 games.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
So, it was, last year, it was 446 campaigns that were successfully funded over the course of the whole year.
Yes.
But this year, they're projecting probably only 350 total for the year, because we're seeing... the total amount of money that was raised last year, which was 57 million, nearly 58 million, which is, an amazing amount of money.
Yeah.
Is great, but this year, it's in the amount of months of this year, the amount of money that has been raised as opposed to last year in the same amount of time, we're doing much worse this year.
It's like a quarter of the money so far. And it's projected to only be 27 million at this point.
Yeah.
So it's less than half.
So, we're looking at something like a 50% drop in the amount of funding that we're getting.
Does
these games.
This, however, I don't think means that we're going to see fewer Kickstarter games, necessarily.
Well, I think that's the problem, right?
I mean...
Because there's less money going around, but there's going to be just as many games.
But... It also, you think some of these games are very cheap to fund as well. A lot of games in the last year reached their goal by huge margins.
Yeah.
And it may mean that, yes, there's less money going around, but at the same time it may mean that more games get funded to their required goal, and maybe not overfunded quite as much.
That would be the hope,
That's the hopeful. That's the optimistic outlook.
Yeah.
Obviously there's the other outlook as well. It's glass half empty, glass half full kind of thing. But we can't really know for sure until we see the results from the end of the year on how many things got made. And at the same time, a lot of things get funded in 2013. They're probably in development now. So maybe a lot of these people who wanted to get in on this crowdfunding thing we're not making as much money because there's not as many games going up.
That would be really interesting if it went sort of in a cycle.
Like every couple years you have a big burst when the developers who successfully made Kickstarter games finish a game and move on to the next thing.
That would be a really interesting trend to see in the next couple of years.
Yeah.
And if we see it, we'll report on it, because we love reporting on Kickstarter.
Yeah! There's so much to talk about. Maybe we'll someday be able to talk about the Oculus Rift.
It might come out.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So yeah, that's our little Kickstarter dealie for the week. We got about 10 minutes left in the show. So would you like to segue into our little review here?
But Dan, what show are people listening to?
What show are people listening to?
You tell
They're
them.
listening to Don't Copy That Floppy with us, Lex and Dan. Dan speaking. We're a video game news show on Chipit Radio at chipit.net. We're also on iTunes. You can subscribe to us and listen to us there. We've got show archives there and on chipit.net. You can go to Facebook at Don't Copy That Floppy and like us. You can follow us on Twitter at DCTF Podcast. You can find us on Steam as Don't Copy That Floppy or DCTF Podcast. Mm-hmm. We have a curator thing, so you can see game recommendations from us.
Yeah, if you join our group, we're gonna
join our club.
Join our club. No girls allowed, though.
No girls allowed.
But no, I'm gonna be doing more posting of different articles, kind of in the same way that we post articles that we think are really interesting from the week on Facebook. So if people want to talk about them, they can probably be doing the same thing on Steam.
Yeah. We normally, our broadcasting times have been a little wonky lately. Today we are broadcasting from 7 to 8, which used to be our normal thing. However, we don't usually we usually broadcast on Fridays.
Yes.
And our time on Friday will now be from 9 to 10 p.m. on Fridays.
That's important.
That is actually we said that was starting this week. It is actually starting this coming week. So Friday the 10th will be our first show at our new regular time. We had obligations, so we had to push it back a day. And that is why we are broadcasting tonight. So yes, it's about the end of the show, and when we have time and have a game in mind, either me or Lex will do a little review at the end of the show. This week, I am going to review the last of the 3 Dark Souls 2 downloadable content packs, which is Crown of the Ivory King, which I mostly finished up. I have a few little things to mop up in it. Mostly finished up this week after buying it. I did not touch much on the second DLC pack, as it didn't really, wow me or feel much different than the first. I do want to talk about the third one, though, because I think it's fantastic. Nice. And did some really cool stuff. It may be my favorite of the 3 DLCs. I think it is, although the first one is still really good as well. Second one definitely the weakest. So, Crown of the Ivory King is Dark Souls 2 DLC. It takes place in a snowy castle city called Elia Malois. When you first arrive here, there is a nasty snowstorm going on when you arrive in the area. And that snowstorm has affected the environment in numerous ways by blocking off passages, freezing chests, doing all sorts of interesting ways of stopping you from getting to certain parts of it. However, partway through the DLC, the storm ceases, and you have reason to go back through the whole area, and everything has changed because the storm is no longer raging. So there's tons of stuff to explore. The plot line of this DLC is really neat. I thought it was much more interesting than the other 2. There are numerous cool NPCs that you meet throughout it, who tell you some cool story stuff and who actually aid you in a very big battle as part of the DLC, so you have a reason to go and seek out these NPCs to recruit them for this big battle. Tons of fun. Made for a really cool boss fight. The special challenge area of this DLC is just a big icy wasteland, like you're on the planet Hoth. And it's really spooky, and the winds kick up, and you can't see anything, and you need to make it to these safe spots, and you get attacked by these horrible ice horses. And it's a very unique area. I've seen a lot of people complaining about it, saying that it's total BS because it's way too hard, but I love it. I think it's really cool. It just feels very different than the rest of the game did.
I like people being like, this Dark Souls area
is too difficult. It's too difficult. It's not fair.
I don't expect this level of difficulty in Dark Souls.
Yeah. So, it's Crown of the Ivory King is really just, they did a bang-up job on it. It's a great thing for them to go out on as the third and final DLC. Just very creative, cool areas, some really neat gear you find throughout it, some cool spells. And without saying too much, because I don't want to spoil these encounters for you, there are 2 Black Phantom Invasion encounters, NPC Black Phantom Invasion encounters in this DLC, that are particularly amazing. from an AI perspective. There's one early on in the DLC and one in a later portion after the storm ceases. Both of them are very unique little encounters with hostile NPCs that kind of threw me for a loop and surprised me and actually got me laughing pretty hard, just because they were very neat and very different. And great boss fights. Really cool bosses in this one as well. So, yeah, if you haven't checked out any of the Dark Souls 2 DLCs, I highly, highly recommend all 3 of them. The second one, overall not as good, but had some great boss fights in it, so it's still worth checking out. The first and third, I couldn't recommend more. Each of them's $10, and you get a good 6 to 8 hours of playtime at least out of each. So I'd say it's worth the money. And they clearly put a lot of effort into all 3. So yeah, Dark Souls 2 DLC, final thoughts for all 3. 10 out of 10, pretty good.
10 out of 10, pretty good.
Yeah, no, really good follow-up to the core game. And actually, honestly, they're some of the best areas in the whole game, if you get them. Like, they're really high-quality areas. So, cool. Yeah. And then we'll finish off with a little roundup of games that recently came out and are coming out soon.
So I want to start just saying, yesterday we had Super Smash Brothers for the 3DS came out.
Yeah, so that's the big deal I wanted to mention, too.
Yeah.
It's probably the biggest thing to talk about.
It's really weird, because I've been reading a lot of really good reviews on it, but I've been seeing a lot of really negative reviews on, like, Facebook from people I know who love Super Smash Brothers.
I have seen 1 or 2 people on my Facebook have talked about it. One was only saying, I got the game, and the other guy seems to really be enjoying it. But I haven't seen as much as you, I guess, of people's reactions.
But I haven't gotten a chance to, like, because, you know, they just post on Facebook, well, this is garbage. But I haven't gotten a chance to, like, talk to them about it.
Yeah,
and I haven't
find out what specifically it is.
Yeah, and I haven't gotten a chance to play it, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, the only things I've seen that have annoyed me without playing it are I'm not a fan of some of the roster choices. But that's all. I don't know about the game itself because I haven't had a chance to play it yet either. And I'm waiting for the Wii U version.
Yeah.
I don't plan on picking up the 3DS version, even though I have the system.
Yeah. On the tomorrow...
Speaking of Wii U version, still no release date.
Aww.
Come on, Nintendo.
Jeez.
It'll be out.
Tomorrow, Skylanders Trap Team is coming out. If you're a young kid
a young kid who still cares about Skylanders.
Yeah, you can have some fun with that, I guess.
Also, in the past week, Persona 4 Ultimax came out. Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, the second Persona fighting game.
Oh.
That's been getting a lot of good talk. Sounds like it turned out great. So if you want a cool 2D sprite fighter with a lot of technical stuff going on in it, check it out. If you're a fighting game person, you owe it to yourself. It's really good.
Nice. So on the 7th, we got a lot of releases. One, probably the highlight of this, is Alien Isolation is coming out.
Which I've actually been hearing has shaped up really well.
Well, yeah, it's because Randy Pitchford didn't make it.
And it's a survival horror game based on Alien, and apparently they did a great job with it.
Looks so good.
I've been hearing it never devolves into like a shooter or anything. Like you stay as that survival horror feel through the whole game.
Oh, and I should also note, that's coming out for Windows, PS3, PS4,
360.
Xbox 360.
It's on everything.
It's on everything.
Get it.
Which actually weirds me out a little bit because the graphics are like super detailed and nice in this game, so I'm kind of wondering if like the 360 and the PS3
are going to take a hit.
Yeah.
Probably. But
hey, it's on PC, so just master race it.
My favorite thing coming out on the 7th, though, a little game called Drive Club. Let me tell you, people, if you've ever wanted to have sex with a car, now's your chance.
Now's your chance. I thought you were going to say the title 2 Down from Drive Club.
2 Down from Drive Club? Oh, our favorite, Project Spark.
Project Spark's
It's already out.
Well, it's not already out. It's coming out this week.
It's close enough. Is Styx Master of Shadows related to Shadows of Mordor?
No.
Too bad. Final Fantasy XIII is coming out on PC on the 9th.
Big deal.
That's weird.
I remember.
As is Rise Son of Rome on the 10th.
Yeah, I think I remember.
If you want to play a mediocre action game, but you don't have an Xbox One, now's your chance.
Now's your chance. Yeah, I remember doing a little story, I think, at one point on how the Final Fantasy games, some of them are coming to Windows.
Yeah.
And that's like a big
I mean, they
deal.
have done that in the past. FF7 came out on the PC way back.
Oh, did it?
Yep.
That's nuts.
Yeah, it's weird.
I didn't get that on PC.
Probably still find it somewhere.
But yeah, so that's that new stuff. We're like right up to time.
Yeah.
So thank you guys so much for listening.
Yeah, unfortunately, the chat room didn't end up working today.
Sorry about
it seems
that.
like it's just down. We'll probably have it next week, though. So
we'll talk to our guy. We'll figure it out.
Talk to our guy.
So you've been listening to Don't Copy That Floppy, a weekly video game news show. We are on Fridays from 9 p.m. until 10 p.m. Eastern Standard. We've got a Facebook, Don't Copy That Floppy. We've got a Twitter at DCTF Podcast. We've got
a Steam curator group.
Don't Copy That Floppy. We've
Everything.
Also, yeah, and we've got an iTunes. Subscribe to that. You can get the episodes as soon as they're uploaded.
We're literally everywhere.
Come to your house. So yeah, thanks again for listening. I have been Lex.
I have been Dan.
And remember...
tune in next week, Friday, from 9 to 10.
Exactly.
Right here. Same great place. But same great faces.
You don't see the faces.
You don't see them,
you don't
not
see
yet.
Those.
Until we get to your house.
But in that week interim, while you're playing those computer games, remember
don't copy that floppy.